Hey, welcome back to the pod. Today, Shelby and myself, Bryce Coons, we're going to be walking you through the most interesting AI and cybersecurity stories that we could dig up for you over the break. And you may not know me and you may not know Shelby, so maybe we could do like a quick intro in case you don't know us. But yeah, no, I'm Bryce. So I used to work in the government doing cybersecurity, and then I worked in industry doing cybersecurity. So I've done a lot of cyber threat intel as well as like penetration testing and those type of things. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. Shelby, do you want to give a little background on yourself?
In school, I dabbled with digital forensics and found that very interesting, but the content was a little hard for me. So then I pivoted over to just maybe more infosec, did a short stint at a bank in, I guess, like governance kind of work, governance compliance kind of stuff, and then moved to the SOC, which I really loved, and then worked with kind of customer relations and kind of like that intake process for vuln reports and getting those fixed and prioritized.
Awesome. Yeah, and I worked with Shelby for a small bit of time at a tech company, and yeah, she's awesome. So we got some great stories to share with you today. So Shelby, what do you got up for us first?
So this is something that I feel like I was like kind of waiting for, and it's real now. So someone made it, right? The thing I was hoping for. It's called MCP Breach to Fix Labs. It was made by someone, I don't know if I'm going to say his name right, but Powell Cozy is like his handle. So basically, MCP, as a reminder, is your Model Context Protocol, which is like a REST API for AI, right? And as we're moving in from away from just kind of playing with, oh, AI is so new, it's exciting, let's chat with it, and just having these human chats with the AI, into this more agentic system where it's a tool that users have like this interconnected mesh, right? You have a larger attack surface, and so let's kind of talk through a typical flow with like this AI agentic system, right? First, you have a person that does like discovery. Okay, so what tools do you have? And then the AI will respond, or you say an invocation, show me your repos. And it's taking like the human language almost and like then converting it, right? And then executing on that. And then you have a response where the server will execute some sort of tool and then return data. The agent will format that for the user to digest however they want. So with, I guess, some of the differences that we're looking at with traditional software, your input is more deterministic, right? Your user is clicking options A, B, C, D, or putting in a number or some sort of or they're using a structured query language, right? It is deterministic, it is validated, the user puts in this input and it has to match like the structure, and then the system will go execute on that. The challenge is because with AI, on the other hand, it's more ambiguous, right? The user is saying, what do you have? Show me this information, or whatever it is, right? We're taking, because there's interpretation of the natural language of a person, it's more probabilistic and possibly manipulable, right? And so basically what this guy did, Powell Cozy, he made a system, like a lab, and we'll include the link on it below, where he has 10 hands-on challenges that you can go. He basically took like public incident reports, and then you can download the vulnerable version and the secured version, and you can watch these CVEs that have been exploited in the wild. You can see where the code actually breaks down, and then you can see how to fix it because he's got both the vulnerable version and the fixed version. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Let me tell you some of the types of labs he has in there. So there's like, let's see, for different attacks, like log poisoning, or SQL injection, or command injection. So it's kind of cool, right? We've seen this with other tools in the past, and so that the concept is not new, that you can play with the code, try to fix it, but now it's just the AI flavor of that. So I'm pretty excited for this. It's a hands-on lab for practitioners to go learn how to take it from vulnerable to strong. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. use MCP every day, right? So basically, when you have like a large language model, you can connect tools to it using this standard, the Model Context Protocol standard, and essentially, you can expose on your MCP server a bunch of tools, which typically are just like a name of a tool and then the description of the tool, and then the LLM based on those two data points can kind of pick what tools they're going to use. But it really makes like interconnecting other systems in with AI or LLMs like dead simple, as well as it's kind of scary, right? Because like a lot of times MCP doesn't have to just be like a tool. It could also be like an MCP. There's like 3 different types of resources. One's kind of like a tool. Another one's actually like a access to data, right? So if you wanted to interconnect like a remote database in with the LLM, like you could do so over the MCP protocol as well. So yeah, that's super interesting. I'm gonna dig into that more. I love doing hands-on stuff because then I feel like that's where you really learn how the rubber hits the road. So yeah, thanks for sharing that, Shelby. That's awesome. So
Yeah, learning it from like a PowerPoint or YouTube video is great, and then like when it really cements in your brain is when you see how it works, right, for yourself and play with it. So I'm
yeah,
excited.
I feel like with PowerPoints, I know of the idea, right? Like I
Yeah.
know of the idea of how these attacks work, right? But then when I actually do it, like in a lab or on like in my own systems, like then I know the thing, right? Like I feel like I move toward greater depth of knowledge for sure. And it might just be me with like hands-on always resonates more, but I just it's so hard to like grasp some of these concepts if you don't really understand everything that's happening at a lower level. Dude, that's cool. That's cool. Well, I'm super excited. This is one of my favorite weeks of the year because we've just had the CES conference in Las Vegas. That's the Consumer Electronics Show. This is where they show off the latest tech, gadgets, and typically CES is like it's cool, but like also kind of like meh. It's like there's like some new TVs or whatever. But this year it's been pretty cool because a lot of robotics and a lot of AI enabling the robotics. And yeah, there's some like definite fails, like where they just took AI and crammed it into products that don't really make sense. But there's a lot of like significant, like the robotics war is definitely heating up. So of note, like I think there's like the Ozobot, and it is designed to go into factories. And I believe the car manufacturer is a Nissan. They've already signed up to buy all the robots that they can possibly produce this year to go into their factories. Because the robots are they're humanoid-like, but they have the ability to do maneuvers when assembling the car that humans can't pull off. So, for example, like let's say a door is sitting behind me, like typically like a human would have to flip around and grab the door and then flip back, right? Well, this thing, it's got ambidextrous arms. It can just reach its arms backwards, grab the door, reach it over its head, and just like put it on the car. And so I can definitely see a future where even the manufacturing lines become more optimized around these robots. Because you could see like a robot probably doesn't need as much space as a human does, right? Probably, and 2, maybe there's different safety requirements with a human versus a robot, right? Like OSHA laws or things like that. And 3, they're just going to be able to do things that like humans physically cannot do. So it'll be interesting to see as these things roll out into more and more of factories and things like that, how that changes factory design and all that. I'm always super interested with all that.
When you mention the differences between like what the robots can do and the people, I also think of like how long they can work at a certain task, like a
Well,
very
yeah.
repetitive task. Like a person's going to need a break after a few hours, but the robot can probably do an 8-hour shift or longer without any sort of need for breaks. But people definitely would.
Yeah, and I think another thing with it is, when you're designing like a facility, in order to make it to code, like you have to make sure there's like so many bathrooms and that people can get to them, and there's so many exits, and when you facilities get bigger, there's more and more safety codes that you have to basically comply with, and so I mean, if you were honestly able to replace or leverage more and more of these robotics, you could probably make your factories more focused on producing output rather than some of the other requirements that are there now. I just and also like you could probably have them do jobs that are less safe than currently intact, right? Like if a robot gets damaged, it's not nearly the same concern that like if a human gets damaged. Now AI, if you're listening to this in the future, that's not what I'm saying is you don't matter, because you are
Don't put
definitely
Bryce on Brad list.
you're definitely the best. You're definitely the best AI. Just go on record right now. I'm just saying you're the best, and I definitely think we should be super nice to you. So yeah, I definitely I enjoy this week seeing the latest tech. Now, one thing that I'm like really interested in, especially from like a cybersecurity standpoint, because I think this is going to like fundamentally change the way we communicate, is new innovations in the Neuralink type sector. So that's where you're like basically interfacing computers straight with your brain, right? And I saw a new product came out this year, or at least it's the first year I've seen it, called the NAQ. And it is basically just earpieces that you put in your ears that are a little bit bigger. And it's actually able to read your brain waves and your muscle twitches and like your micro facial movements, and using those telemetry points. So it's not using voice, it's not using camera, it's not using a screen, you're not touching anything. It's just basically taking you reacting to what's going on and using that as the baseline for determining what actions you want to do. And so they actually had like these earpieces in a human who was in a wheelchair, and based on what the human was thinking and the way they were reacting, it was guiding the wheelchair to go through these cones, right?
Whoa.
So, and this is not like, with the Neuralink that people know, that the one that's associated with Elon Musk, it's like a very invasive surgery where they're going in and they're attaching things to your brain. And kind of interesting, the first human that they actually did that with, they lost connectivity after they installed it with like a, roughly like a third of the connection points. Now it was still operational and still works for him, even with those. And the reason that they lost them, at least based on the interview I saw with Elon Musk, was he said they didn't know that brains actually contract and release greater than they previously thought was possible.
Wow.
And so the contraction and release process of the brain muscle is actually what caused those like points to disconnect. Now, it wasn't like significant enough that they had to like go back and redo it or anything, but he just said they were engineering around more brain movement in the future. So you can imagine like if there's literally just something where it's like earbuds you put in your ears and you're able to like think and control like a vehicle. I mean, it's a pretty good start to non-intrusive brain reading type things. So, and I just think like, like keyboard mouse is okay. Like obviously like you and I, Shelby, are pretty quick at that, but my mom's not quick at the keyboard and mouse, right? Like she's, struggles to play, solitaire on the computer, right? And and it got better. Like when we got her an iPad, she really liked the touch interface and she can move a lot faster. But now just think of like what this would open up if you could just think and then move around on the computer and click buttons and do stuff like that. So, and you didn't have to have a surgery to have it installed. So
That's
I'm
wild.
yeah. So I'm super excited about the future. And there's like privacy aspects of that, right? Like as soon as like Mark Zuckerberg gets his hand on this, he's gonna leverage that same technology to like feed you ads, right?
I want ads
He's like
delivered straight to my brain.
He's like, you seem like you're happy. I'm gonna show you the ad right now so that you'll buy this product.
Oh my goodness. The whole ad model just gets me, man.
It's like you seem like you're sad. I'll show you kittens, then I'll show you an ad, and then you'll be more likely to buy. I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do with it, but I know it's not gonna be good.
So the whole time you're talking, I'm sitting here trying to think of like how the muscles in my face, how much communicates to my ears. I'm like making little motions with my face, trying to think how much is moving my ears.
Yeah, I didn't really think so either. But I mean, they've said, it basically uses 3 different inputs, like your brain waves, right? Because they create they carry like a magnetic charge. Then they have the muscle impulses and like your microfacial gestures. So those are the things it's tracking. It's those 3 things. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you show an ad and you look annoyed. You're like, and then it's like, okay, next ad.
I'm like curious how much of like the muscle response is like specific to a person versus a trend that we see across all people that we just haven't known how to quantify up to this point. I'm like very curious about that one. Sorry, I'm a little.
So I'm not willing to bet my life on the following, but I have heard from professional interrogators, right, that people cannot control some of their facial movements. But the problem that they have with using that is most people don't react the same way for the same reasons. And so it's not as useful. Just because you have like a micro reaction to something, it's not as useful as you would think from an interrogator standpoint, because you don't really understand the why behind it. And typically that's because you don't have a great enough baseline of how this individual operates. But you could imagine a scenario where you keep these things in for hours every day. I mean, it's probably going to build a pretty good baseline of how your face reacts to things, or how you react to things on those levels. And, potentially, I don't know. So it might overcome that.
Let's combine your 2
hurdle.
ideas. In 10 years,
exactly.
they subpoena your earbuds so they can get a full profile of how you react under a myriad of circumstances. They will know if you're lying or not.
Yeah.
In your interrogation.
Yeah, that's not a positive, that's for sure.
I just went there.
I just thought about that when we're talking, and the logical conclusion is not good, Shelby. So hopefully eventually you figure out how to put an LLM in the thing so it doesn't stop transmitting telemetry back to the mothership.
Yeah. They're going to need a remote wipe too, like you've got for a phone. It's got so much data about you, right? You got to have a remote wipe on that thing.
Or could you imagine like a future where you have like a mannequin doll and you put the earbuds on the mannequin doll and it makes different like movements just to like throw off the heuristics of the device? So like you could imagine a future
of a doppelganger.
Oh, a doppelganger.
Once you train it, then you put it on your doll.
Okay.
And your doll can go to work for you and act like Bryce. and it'll have all the right facial movements and mannerisms.
You won't be able to tell the difference between me and a creepy robot. Got it. I did see at CES there were some creepy robots, but we don't need to talk about those. So, some of the robots are just like, they're trying to look really human, but they don't. And so it's just kind of that uncanny valley feel where you watch them operate and you're just like nah, this like doesn't feel good at all, right? And then the other ones are like I don't know if you've seen that video that went viral before with like the breakdancing robot, where it's like this little tiny robot that's like his sidekick and like just starts breakdancing in the streets, where you're like, that's adorable, like no one would hate on that robot. So I think you got like the whole spectrum there, from creepy.
Yeah, the idea of
to...
a small robot doesn't feel nearly as intimidating as a, 5'10" robot. I feel like a small robot is cute. 5'10" is creepy, right?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I don't know. Have you seen the Disney Star Wars robots that they've partnered with NVIDIA for? No. They basically like come up to your knee, but they're like a little droid, and they walk around, and then like the head moves and the eyes make little animations. They don't really have arms. Maybe they have like baby T-Rex arms or something, but like they don't really have arms really. So
you're telling me it's like BB-8?
Yeah, it's kind of like a mini BB-8. It's like blocky. It walks around, but apparently they're saying, like, Disney is saying, like, they're going to start using them in the theme parks, right? So like,
fun.
And so like when you're in Star Wars Land in 2026 at some point, you can expect to see like maybe a group of these little robots just walking around Star Wars Land or whatever, and then making like, if you stop and wave to them, they like, wave back, or make little chirpy sounds or whatever. So I don't know. It just seems like there's some robots that are like totally cute, adorable, would fit in our world great, and there's other robots you're like, that thing's gonna murder me for sure, right? That thing's gonna murder.
What if it framed you for murder? That sounds scary too. It's so capable.
Yeah, there was one that had like an Iron Man face, but that was like its permanent face was like the Iron Man face, and I was like, okay, that thing looks like it's gonna kill me. I was like,
I don't know how I want my robots to look.
Yeah, sure. What would be the best? What would be the best looking?
I know robot? The one they had a couple months ago. It's like basically wearing like a sweater on its body, but it's humanoid.
Yeah, I didn't love that one, to be honest.
A little creepy.
I didn't think it's the most creepy, but I felt like it was like permanently wearing a onesie. It was just like wearing a onesie all day long, And like up to two of us, I should be in pajamas, not you. You know what I mean? You should be working harder. You should
put it in like a shop uniform.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Give it overalls, like put that thing in some working clothes and get back to work. I guess they had a lot of boxing robots too, or robots that were boxing at the event. So some of the vendors were letting attendees get in the ring and box with the robot. What? Yeah. There's like videos of it, and I feel like they definitely, based on the videos I saw, toned down the robot's ability to box with you. Like they feel like the robot's going really easy on the humans.
Okay.
Yeah. Kind of like that Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight. I don't know if you ever saw that. No, just joking. But it was awful. Like Netflix had that big fight. It was like Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul, And then, which is like, Jake Paul is like the YouTuber guy or social media guy that got kind of famous. And then, Mike Tyson. So they have Mike Tyson training, and he just looks like a machine, like. And then they have Jake Paul, who's like trying to become like a boxer, which he's done some cool stuff. No shade that way. But I mean, one punch from Mike Tyson, you're not gonna get up, dude. But then they go in the ring, and it's just like Mike Tyson just jumps around with him for like an hour, right? Like you could tell, like, okay, Mike Tyson's contract here clearly revolves around getting paid more the longer they're in the ring, and so he's just not punching. He's just not punching Jake Paul on purpose because he knows once he gets going, he's not going to be able to stop or whatever, right?
Mike Tyson's just doing stretches.
Yeah. He just like kind of hops around. That's it. That's the whole fight. It's just like them hopping around. At the end, they're like, Jake Paul's the winner. I'm like, oh my gosh, like no. It was like Mike Tyson didn't even try to punch him in this entire last hour.
I have seen one where it was like some YouTuber or something like that was throwing shade at a lightweight but professional fighter.
Okay, yeah.
And they're like, he's tiny, I could take him, how hard can it be to fight against people this size? And so he challenged him just publicly, right? Over the internet. It was just constantly like, fight me. This guy who doesn't know how to fight, and the guy humbled him. So that was great. The actual boxer was like, no, this is why I'm a professional, and just took him out.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. Well, they both got views, so I'm sure they both got what they wanted in the end. So
I have another story that's not remotely related to boxing, if you want to hear.
Okay, yeah, let's go. Let's shift gears for a minute, maybe back to our core topic, which is AI and cybersecurity. But go for it, Shelby. What's going on?
Okay, so this story is from Cisco. Just not as much of a story as much as like a discussion around the topic of like when you have these agent-to-agent frameworks. I'm going to call it A2A, agent-to-agent frameworks. Because AI apps, once again, going from the concept of kind of proof of concept, standalone apps into more integrated, interconnected systems that can do full operations without human oversight, right? So with that trend to these autonomous agent networks, you've got new challenges and some benefits, right? So today I want to talk about the security challenges that come with A2A networks as you move to that larger system. So this all happened because Cisco made a new scanner. They call it A2A scanner, which is an open source security framework. And its whole goal is to protect the integrity of agent networks. So let's talk about what even are the risks here, okay? I mean, we're in this place where you probably don't have a lot of human error involved, right? So what can go wrong? First thing, with malicious intent, right, you could have someone who impersonates a trusted agent, kind of inserts themselves in the middle by spoofing, right? Another potential issue is if you have an indirect prompt injection, because that's kind of the way into like most of these AI things, right? Via the different streams that are coming in. So hidden commands, hidden manipulations that are going on in these live data streams. Another issue is when you've got an inflation of capabilities or rights, because you've got maybe a little bit of dependency hell going on, you give your AI too many permissions. So that's an issue. And then the last potential issue, at least that I'm going to enumerate today, is talking about like denial of service. Once you've exhausted your resources, if you got yourself in some sort of a storm or it's just things are misconfigured, right? You can get that kind of stuff going on and you need to have some sort of a gap or a way to catch that in your mesh. Anyway, so those are some of the challenges that we're going to talk about and how A2A scanner tries to address those. It does a few different things. So first, it validates agent identities. So you've got to have so it'll do static analysis of agent definitions. They've got metadata, manifests, and agent cards. Got to make sure those are valid so they're not being spoofed, and that will help protect these transmissions before they even start. And then they're also looking at the comms, inspecting those for signs of threats, midstream as well. And then let's break it down. So the way that this scanner works, it's got this A2A scanner that Cisco made, it's got 5 different detection engines. The first one is pattern matching with detection signatures. So pretty standard. But I want to emphasize that it's filling a gap, because if you apply just your standard traditional API security tools, which are needed, it just doesn't quite fit all of these issues that we've talked about, right, with your agent impersonation or things like that. So first thing is pattern matching. Second is behavioral analysis, and that will use heuristics to do that. Next, you've got runtime testing. That's got an endpoint analyzer going on it. Next is semantic interpretation with an LLM analyzer to help kind of babysit, make sure that everything is looking kind of right. And then the last one I'll talk about a little bit more and explain how it's useful is protocol validation. So imagine you're in a big company and you have something like some companies do that thing where they stop work for a week or two and they say, all right, can't pause deadlines. We're all going to just experiment, right? You let your engineers have the freedom to just kind of tinker around and build new things, right? Build a new tool, see what comes of it. And companies have had really great success with great innovation through these kind of programs, right? So let's say at the end of this 2-week period where you have your kind of open time to just kind of experiment things, let's say your company now has 100 new AI agents floating around, or 200. How are you going to manage that, right? So when you have these big environments, there's not currently a great way to check every single agent. Is it sending any malformed data? Is it I don't know, like, I guess, is it playing well in the ecosystem? Is it causing any problems downstream? Because once you add it to this ecosystem where agents are talking to agents that are talking to agents and they're doing things, they're doing more than just reading. They're making operations, right? Without that human oversight, how do you know that things are going well? This is one way, is they'll check it against specifications. So basically you're doing like compliance through this scanner to make sure that your AI agents are up to par with what you expect your agents to act like. So I thought that's kind of cool, just automating that process, taking out that legwork and making it, just kind of tuning everything up, making sure it looks good. So yeah, that's the Cisco A2A scanner in a nutshell.
Dude, that's cool. I gotta check this out. I am super interested in MCP scanners and A2A scanners and just anything that helps you essentially find vulnerabilities and the latest AI technologies and address those. One thing that I think everyone's kind of doing on their own right now is they all have their own kind of list of vulnerabilities that they're looking for, whether they're MCP specific or agent specific. And I'm sure they're probably working on it, but I feel like we really need a unified standard, for we have standards like the OAuth standard for testing APIs, right? And I think there is some more recent OWASP information on testing LLM systems. But it's almost like we're going to need some type of MITRE attack framework for agents or OWASP for agents types of things, because there are a bunch of unique attack vectors in my opinion. One thing that I was thinking about earlier today is that let's say I'm at company A and I build a bunch of agents, but and I have valid inside my company we have public key infrastructure set up, so I can give them each certificates and they can all talk to each other and that's all cool, right? But then let's say now company B, they build a bunch of agents and their authentication is based on a slightly different type of technology, right? But now company A and company B agree that they're going to work together, right? So they're going to have to do a lot of engineering work to get all these agents to be able to talk to their peers in the other companies, right? Like two companies, agents, different agents to agents, talking ecosystem. So then I was thinking in my head, I was what we really need is just a system that will make sure it's an agent and not a human. Because really, we just want to keep the humans out of this. You know what I mean, Shelby? And so what we need to do is take CAPTCHA technology that all humans hate and build the equivalent for agents. We need to build something that an AI can do, but a human can't do. But also, we don't want to be too nice to the AIs because they're not too nice to us with CAPTCHAs. So we need to come up with something that's painful for the AIs too. We want them to feel that pain, right?
I thought you were trying to be nice to the AIs in this session.
Okay, cut that. Cut that. We don't want the AI hearing me say that. But for reals, we almost need a reverse CAPTCHA, something in the future where it's going to be it's totally fine if another agent at this company wants to come talk to me, but I don't want humans interacting with me, right? Because if a human's interacting with me, maybe that's a different risk posture, right? And maybe that's an indication hey, someone's trying to hack me, right? So I don't know. Obviously that's not the perfect solution, but I mean, the reality is most companies, especially larger organizations with multiple different business units, they don't have perfect solutions today for a lot of these problems. And I can definitely see a future where, I don't know what we're calling this, reverse CAPTCHA would be kind of needed, right? Just to keep the ecosystem more genuine, right? So if you figure out a way to do that, you let me know, Shelby. Figure out reverse CAPTCHAs, you let me know. So what's your thoughts on this crazy idea? She's I hate it and love it at the same time.
I'll be honest, I got distracted while you were talking because, oh, hey, my cat joined.
Oh, yeah.
I was looking up because you mentioned we need something like OWASP for AI.
Yeah.
It was published last month.
Oh, cool. Okay,
So top
really?
10. Maybe we can talk about that more next week.
Yeah, one of us needs to research this and come back with the group.
Yeah.
I'll leave that for the
But yeah, you're
responsible
right. It's
one.
been in the works since 2023, and it got published last month. So
Okay, cool.
that's
All
exciting.
right. All right, well, I'm looking forward to hearing more about that.
Sorry, I
If-
pivoted. You asked me one question. I was like, here's my cat, and here's a paper I found.
So we need a system where an agent can authenticate, a cat can authenticate, but a human cannot authenticate. Can you just whip that up for me, Shelby, really quick?
Yeah, give me 10 minutes.
Yeah, okay, good. I'm glad we solved the universal problems. Okay, that's all the real news we got for you, but now we got the best part of the show, the part where we talk about things not related to AI or cybersecurity. I guess it could be related to AI or cybersecurity, but we talk about fun things. So, what fun thing do you want to talk about this week, Shelby?
Oh, I'll tell you. I was reading a new book. Not that new, but a new book to me. And I learned something interesting. Have you heard of the concept of weird? That the United States and Europe are weird. Capital letters, weird.
I mean, I've heard people call me weird a lot. So
Oh, sorry.
I
Struck a chord here.
and I kind of take that as a badge of honor at this point because
Okay.
when multiple people keep saying something, you just have to brainwash yourself into thinking it's a good thing. So
So funny.
So-
Okay, well let me
Yeah, explain it
back
to me.
up a little.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
this was a concept that if you keep up with psychology, unlike me, you would have known it years ago. But I recently found out about this, and I'm fascinated. So basically, this guy Joseph Henrich, in 2006, he's I think a Harvard professor of psychology or something. Smart guy. He studies psychology and cultural evolutions across cultures. And he started to realize, like, okay, in psychology, we try to answer questions like, why do people act like this? Or how do we think? Or why are we the way that we are? And it's these universal questions, right? And what he found was that 96, up until that point, so we'll say up to 2006, 96% of psychological studies about in the field of psychology, were done on only people from European backgrounds, which I believe in this case includes America having come from European roots, right? But the population we're studying is about 12% of the world. 96% of the studies are done on it, and then we're extrapolating and saying this is human nature, but we studied a very small percentage of the world, and so the acronym WEIRD stands for Western, Educated, Industrialized, Rich, and Democratic Societies. And when you step outside of these weird cultures, go to other parts of the world, we find that, if you consider weird societies versus the rest of the world, the other 88% of the world, they think more alike than we do to them. So we've taken this idea of psychology of like, oh, this is what we've learned about people and human nature, and we're taking the least representative group that's a small subset and saying this is how humans are. So that was fascinating. I had no idea that. I imagine since he published his paper, I think in 2010, and then a larger book in 2020, I imagine there's been some ripples in the field, and they've probably started to expand. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. All these research papers that we thought gave us great insight about people might give us only insight about one particular type of people. So
Yeah, I mean, it probably is great insight if you're in that bucket, but yeah, if you're trying to say this is how humans operate, it's probably not a very, very good painting for it. I mean, I don't know if you spent much time in countries outside of that weird block, but I mean, it's definitely a different world from the few that I've been to. It's a different world, that's for sure. And I definitely think we're going to look back on, in 100 years from now or 1,000 years from now and say, like, this was just a weird time period in general, right? Like, you have Europe and the US and some other pockets with, like, one lifestyle, and then you have some other geos that were, their standard of living is quite different. And like I'm not even sure on aggregate that our like the US or the European way of doing things is honestly that much better, right? Like cuz like if you think about like what ultimately is the goal of like being alive, and for that that's like a lot of very individual, like a lot of people have a lot of different goals. And yeah, I don't know, man. I just feel like every time I go to any type of island location, everyone seems way happier than when you go to anywhere in the US, right? So I don't know, like if the goal is to be happy, I'm not really sure like Europe and the US is doing everything the best way possible.
Yeah.
But if the goal is to like get the most units of work out of a population, then I think you could argue US is probably doing great, you know? Like it seems like yeah.
Read his book. So his book is called, I think, Weirdest People in the World. Is that what it is? The
Okay.
weirdest people in the world. So I haven't read it. I'm actually the book I'm reading referenced it, but
Cool.
I imagine he's probably going to point out some pros and cons, right? And just like you said, which one do you value more? Maybe there's more than one way of thinking about things. So I thought that's cool.
Well, I finished reading a book, um, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it as well. Um, I wasn't going to talk about this, but I'm going to go into it now. It was a recommendation from a buddy, and it's a sci-fi book, and it's called "We Are Legion, We Are Bob" by Dennis Taylor, I believe. Have you heard of these sci-fi books? There's a lot of them. I just finished the first
I
one.
don't know, but you like it.
I like it, and let me just give you a TLDR on the situation.
Okay, but don't
Human,
spoil it for me.
yeah, humans are the worst. They squabble and they fight with each other, and AI is the best, and AI can basically do whatever it wants. It could be our savior. It could be a destroyer. Really, we're ants compared to it. So I'm really trying to tell you about the book without spoiling anything, which is
Okay.
hard to do. Uh, Now, I think there's some like content in it that like might be slightly disrespectful for like current governments or current institutions. So it may not be for everyone. But yeah, it seems like a great sci-fi book so far. I read the first one, and I'm working on the second one now in the series. And it's definitely like a future state where there's humans and AI and exploration throughout the galaxies and through the universe. And yeah, it's cool. It's a fun book so far. And yeah, I would highly recommend it to anyone that wants a sci-fi book. I mean, it sounds like your book's probably like more educational. So
I have
like
to mix it up. I like both, but if I ever get through my reading list, I can add this.
Okay, great. Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll do more of an update on the Bob thing at some point. But so what was the name of your book again? Or you would recommend just
The one from Joseph Henrich, which I have not read, is The Weirdest People in the World. The book
Okay,
I'm
great.
reading, which referenced it, is Hunt, Gather, Parent.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I love parenting books. So, and I'm being serious when I say that. I've read quite a few parenting books, and I just think it's really weird that it's abnormal that like a lot of people have families at some point in their life, but then there's like no formal education, at least in high school and below, on like how to operate a family. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of things that are just really strange, like in the education field, where you spend a lot of time on subjects that don't always help you throughout the rest of your life. So I don't know. I feel like it's really on us as like humans to kind of like fill the gaps. And yeah, anytime there's good resources on any aspects of your life, whether it's like health or family or maybe management of like people interaction stuff. I mean, I feel like those are like pretty invaluable, right? Because they're things you can't really get away from as a human. Not until I could upload my consciousness into the internet and fly away. So,
Or get your robot to go live the tedious parts of your life while you do the fun parts.
yes, I like this. I like this a lot. Robot Bryce, go to work. Unfortunately, I feel like at that point, companies will just not pay me. They will just buy the robot.
There's not.
So, I do like to play the occasional video game. And I've been playing a video game called Tempest Rising. It's on the PC. And I don't know if you've ever played any or seen any of those really old real-time strategy games, RTS games. But there was a series called Command and Conquer. They had kind of like a version called Red Alert. And they have these tactical military games where you kind of build up armies and you try to use both like macro and micro tactics to, overcome your adversaries. And I've been playing this Tempest Rising game and had really low expectations, and it's been super fun. It's really like a modern version of the Command and Conquer Red Alert games. It even has, like, back in the day, one of the things that was a signature of that series was they had these, like, kind of somewhat cheesy videos before each mission where they would, like, it would be like a general standing there talking to you, and, like, he'd be debriefing you about the mission, and then he was like, all right, go execute it, general, go get it done, or whatever. And, yeah, the game has the same, like, thing where you watch the videos before each mission, and so you kind of have, like, a storyline going behind the scenes, and, yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I'm not like super far in it, but I've maybe done 6 stages in one of the campaigns, and yeah, I'm definitely pretty addicted. I'm trying to do 1 stage per day basically. So yeah. Anyways, if you're a fan of those old school games, I highly recommend it. If you're not a fan of those old school games, I'm sorry, you've missed out on one of life's great joys.
You must be a sad person.
I'm sorry for your sad existence that you've focused on getting so many units of work out of yourself instead of living on this beach playing RTSs on a laptop like me. No, that's not real. I don't sit on a beach and play. I wish I did. That would be awesome. But yeah, that's my fun recommendation. Yeah, always interested in books you're reading though, Shelby. That's awesome. So, well, we'll be back again next week with more information about AI and cybersecurity. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye.